It's a strange feeling, realizing you're not alone when you were absolutely sure you were. That quiet moment when something shifts in your gut, when the sound behind you doesn't line up with coincidence anymore. Tonight, these are three true stories from people who, at one point in their lives, realized they were being followed. And things only got worse from there. The first story was shared by a woman who says this still affects how she walks anywhere alone, even years later. She was 24 at the time and living in a mid-sized city. Nothing sketchy, nothing extreme. The kind of place where people jog at night and walk their dogs after sunset. She worked late shifts at a bookstore downtown and usually got off around 9:30 p.m. Most nights, she'd walk the 6 blocks back to her apartment with headphones in, half listening to podcasts, half zoned out. One Thursday night, as she left work, she noticed a man standing across the street near a closed cafe. That alone wasn't unusual. What caught her attention was the way he was standing completely still, staring in her direction. She brushed it off, telling herself she was tired and overthinking it. She started walking. After the first block, she had the strange urge to look back. When she did, her stomach dropped. The man was behind her now, same distance, same steady pace. She slowed down. So did he. She sped up. He matched her speed perfectly. At that point, she took out one earbud and listened carefully. She could hear footsteps, heavy ones. Definitely not her imagination. She turned onto a different street than usual, pretending she'd suddenly changed her mind about going home. The street was dimly lit, quieter. As soon as she turned, she heard the footsteps turn with her. That's when fear really set in. She crossed the street. So did he. She ducked into a small convenience store, heart pounding, and stood near the counter pretending to look at candy. Through the glass, she watched the man stop outside. He didn't come in. He just stood there, waiting. After about 2 minutes, he walked away, disappearing around the corner. The cashier asked if she was okay. She nodded, embarrassed, and waited a few more minutes before leaving. She never walked home again after that. She started taking Ubers, even when money was tight. 2 weeks later, she was unlocking the front door to her apartment building when she felt it again. That same heavy feeling of being watched. She turned around. The man was standing across the street. This time he smiled. She ran inside and slammed the door, hands shaking so badly she dropped her keys. From the lobby window, she watched him slowly raise his hand and wave. She moved out a month later. The second story comes from a college student who says the scariest part wasn't knowing he was being followed. It was realizing how long it had been happening. He was 19 and attending a university in a small town. He lived off campus and biked everywhere. One night around 11 p.m., he was riding back from a friend's apartment when he heard a car behind him. Not unusual, but the car stayed behind him. Didn't pass, didn't turn. He sped up. The car sped up. He slowed down. The car slowed down. He pulled over near a street light, pretending to check his phone. The car stopped behind him. The engine stayed running. A man leaned out of the driver's side window and asked, "You lost?" Something about his tone felt wrong, too casual, too rehearsed. He shook his head and said he was fine. The man stared at him for a few seconds longer than necessary, then drove off. Shaken, he waited a full minute before getting back on his bike and taking a longer route home. Over the next few weeks, he started noticing patterns. A car that passed his apartment slowly at night. Footsteps behind him on campus when no one else was around. Once, he found a note tucked into the spokes of his bike. It only said, "Be careful riding alone." He reported it to campus security, but without proof, nothing came of it. One night, while walking back from the library, he heard footsteps behind him again. He turned around and saw the same man from the car, this time on foot, about 30 feet back. The man stopped when he was noticed, smiled, and said, "You're fast. Took me a while to keep up." The student ran. He didn't stop until he reached a crowded dorm building and collapsed on the steps. He transferred schools the following semester. The third story is the most disturbing of all because it happened in broad daylight. This one comes from a mother of two who was running errands on a Saturday afternoon. She noticed a man standing near her car when she walked out of a grocery store. He looked normal, average, forgettable. She drove to another store. When she parked, she saw the same man 2 rows over. She told herself it was coincidence. By the third stop, she knew it wasn't. Each time she parked, he appeared nearby, never too close, always watching, always pretending to be busy with something else. She finally confronted him in the parking lot, asking if he needed help. He looked surprised, then amused. He said, "Oh no, I just like to shop where you shop." Her heart dropped. She rushed home and locked the doors, convinced she was safe. That night, after putting her kids to bed, she noticed something outside the living room window. A man standing across the street, watching the house. The police were called. By the time they arrived, he was gone. They never found him. To this day, she says she still checks her mirrors constantly, still scans parking lots, still feels that familiar chill when footsteps sound a little too close behind her. Because once you know what it feels like to be followed, you never forget it. And sometimes the scariest part isn't realizing someone is watching you. It's realizing they've been watching you for a long time.